Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Before I begin, I just want to let everybody know that each episode is recorded in real time. There is no pausing, there is no editing or restarting, so any mistakes that may be made stay in the recording. I will be making another episode that will come out shortly later today or tomorrow. So there will be a double episode week for the second and third episodes. This episode, I'm going to talk about ADHD and the way it affects my life. Unlike a neurotypical person who has relatively normal experiences, both mentally and physically and emotionally, ADHD has really become very increasingly difficult for myself to function in the world the same as a neurotypical. For example, when I'm trying to listen to somebody and we're having a conversation, it's very difficult to follow along and hear all the words and understand and comprehend what is being said unless I have no distractions verbally or visually in front of me at the time. Even the simplest noise or visual distraction, like a TV show, so right there that's visual and sound distraction, can cause me to become distracted from the conversation and eventually end up losing half or a lot of what is being told to me. And that makes my ability to comprehend what they are saying very difficult and can be frustrating not only for you, the listener, but the person that you are talking with. Because if they don't realize that you have ADHD, they can get frustrated and even angry with you, thinking that you aren't paying attention to them or that they're boring, they're not interesting enough for you to listen to them. And with ADHD, of course, a lot of us are easily frustrated and agitated and can fly off the handle very easily. As I'm sure a lot of you who suffer from ADHD have experienced yourself, you can go to from 0 to 100 just like that at the snap of a finger. And before you know it, your ability to regulate your emotions, cognitive abilities go down, the ability to focus and listen are virtually non-existent, and life in general can become very difficult to deal with for that time. I like to call that situation in my life as being in a heightened state. What that means is that my abilities to listen, to comprehend, to focus, to allow the common sense or the logical part of my mind to understand what is happening, it basically becomes very difficult for all those things to work properly. And often I get very frustrated because the fact that I have such a hard time listening to the person that is talking to me. It can get really you get angry. And a lot of times that person who you're talking to can misconstrue that anger and frustration and think that you're being frustrated at them or you're getting angry at them. And because you're already heightened and you're already at that level of frustration, it's extremely difficult for you to communicate. Imagine yourself sitting there at a table or on the couch, and that person that you're talking to is sitting there going, why aren't you listening to me? Didn't you hear what I said? And you can hear the frustration in their voice. The tone is increasing. The volume is increasing. And you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know. I don't understand. And you, of course, are getting frustrated too. It's very difficult. And a lot of times, especially if you are very inexperienced with recognizing and understanding the symptoms of ADHD, you can get to be very frustrated. You can have increased levels of anxiety, and stress can be higher. You just feel like you don't know what's going on. And if the person in front of you doesn't understand that you're suffering from a symptom of ADHD, you could be easily abandoned. You can be like let go from a friendship or a relationship, or if you're, let's say, at a job interview and this job is important and something in the room or a noise or just your mind in general gets distracted, it can cost you a job because you lose focus. I can see how many times in my past I have had that happen to me. I just sit there and I'm paying attention, and unbeknownst to me, something happens. It's like I don't even realize that it's occurring. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, excuse me? Or I didn't hear you because something happened. And in that past, I didn't even know I had ADHD. I just thought, I'm getting distracted. Sorry, you're going to have to say that again. Or it makes things in life so much more difficult than if you were a neurotypical person. Now, imagine yourself out on a walk, okay? And you're someone who loves nature like I do. I have this affinity for animals, so birds, coyotes, whatever you want to call it. And I love being out there and taking in the sounds and the smells and the sights of nature. But it's so bloody difficult to enjoy it. And a lot of it is because I'm easily distracted. A sudden noise, or something flies by or walks by in front of you, and suddenly your mind goes from focusing on the beauty and the sounds and being in the moment to going, what was that? Oh, I see. Or you hear something and you look around and you go, what was that? And this happens numerous times in that small amount of time that you're there, and you don't even get to experience the whole thing that you were there for to begin with. You feel alone. You feel confused. And you get super frustrated. It's just one of those things where you go, why can't this work? What is wrong with me? I used to think that all the time. I would be sitting somewhere and it would be extremely difficult to focus on just one thing. Now, for most neurotypicals, it's easy to do that. They sit there and they can listen to someone talking for a half an hour, no problem. And they can drown out the excess noise. There could be other people talking in the room. There could be a TV on. There could be the radio. There could be a car driving by. Something easy like that. It doesn't take any extra energy for them to focus their energy and their time on. But with a person like myself or you listening out there now who have ADHD, it takes so much effort, so much concentration, more than the average person, to be able to sit there and listen to them. And a simple noise like a television, or if you're sitting in a restaurant and there are other people around you and you're talking and they're talking and there's music playing up in the speakers in the background, it doesn't take much at all for you to get distracted and to lose focus. Next thing you know, you've missed half the conversation, and that person asks you a question and is asking for an answer, and you're sitting there with a blank look on your face, or you're going, I don't know, I didn't hear you. And if they're a close friend, they're either going to go and roll their eyes at you and maybe make a sigh or a grunting noise or something. But if it's someone who is like your boss, or maybe just an acquaintance that you're talking to, they're going to get frustrated with you. And they may end up thinking horrible things about you. Like, is this guy for real? Is he dumb? Is he, like, not caring? There's so many questions that can come up, because all they're thinking is, why isn't this person paying attention? Is this person disinterested? Is he bored? And it takes nothing for you to lose people that way, because unless they know, and to be honest, unless you know that you have ADHD and your ability to get distracted by something as simple as a television, or the person sitting across from you at another table at a restaurant makes it difficult for you to focus, your world becomes extremely stressful. And you develop things like paranoia, because you start to wonder about yourself. You start to question your self-worth. Your self-confidence can be crushed because you are afraid, because you know from your past that you're not going to be able to do this. And if you want to impress people, like let's say you're a single woman or man and you're going out on a date and you want to make a good first impression on this person and you really like them and you want to get to know them more, it's going to take a heck of a lot of energy and time and concentration for you to appear as though you're focused on them, you're interested in them, and that you want to get to know them. I've been on a number of dates, and I'm sure you guys can understand and can see where I'm coming from. I was on a number of dates with different women, and I'm sitting there and my eyes are darting around. And I used to think it was because I was afraid to look at them. Truth be told, I was easily being distracted by visual and sound and all sorts of things that were coming up. And they would occur and immediately my eyes would go to it. Or I'd go to this area or whatever, and it was like a non-stop movement. I would be able to look at them for, I don't know, 5-10 seconds perhaps, but then I would be always looking around and my head would be turning, or I'd be fidgeting with my fingers on the table. I couldn't sit still. So I'm sure that you can just imagine what the person sitting across from me was thinking. They're sitting there going, what's wrong with this person? Are they not interested in me? Do they not care? Boy, they're being rude. You can imagine all the different thoughts that they're having in their mind as they're sitting there. And the other thing with ADHD, when it comes to having conversations with someone like on a date, is you can easily get distracted in your own words that you're using. Now imagine if you're sitting there and you're talking to this person, how easily you can sit there and repeat the same thing that you've said, not just once or twice, but 3 times. You've repeated the same thing, the same topic to them. Not only that, because in ADHD, we do tend to like to excessively talk, like non-ending, to the point of like, okay, shut up already, we get it, that person across from you is likely thinking this person, all they ever care about is themselves. They're so self-centered, they're so egotistical, they're selfish, they don't care about anybody else. And of course that's not true. But unless they knew that you had ADHD, how would you ever be able to get anywhere? Because they're gonna say, oh, that person's a jerk, he's a self-centered moron, or he's so stupid. And yeah, they're gonna be polite and they're gonna nod their head or smile at you, but in the back of their mind they're going, oh, can't this end already? And then they walk out. And to be honest, like I had a number of times on dates, they weren't telling me. So I had no idea that I had completely ruined the evening, or that they weren't interested in me. I would go home thinking, wow, I had a great time. They were really interesting. I hope that I get to know this person. And before I know it, they're going, oh, I just don't see any chemistry. Oh, we're not compatible. You're a nice guy and all, but I don't think we're going to work. And in reality, they just don't have the ability to tell you the truth, which is you just keep talking. You're sounding self-centered. You're sounding like all you care about is yourself. And in reality, that's the ADHD talking. There's so many things that ADHD has done in my life. And the fact that I've only known about it for barely 6 months now, I can't even begin to imagine all the instances that I've gone through where this ADHD has affected my ability to live a normal life. It's very frustrating. You can feel down, you can feel lost, you can feel alone because nobody truly understands what you are going through. And unless you're seeing a professional like a psychologist or an ADHD coach who knows a lot about this disability, you're going to really not have any idea how to help, deal with it, or how to change your behaviors, or give you external help or hints or exercises that can help improve your situation. Here's the thing. I'm living with my girlfriend. We've known each other for almost 3 years now. And being an ADHD person, I have a hard time dealing with change. Because, as I'm sure you know, or if you do not know by now, people with ADHD tend to have routines. And they do not like having their routines broken because it affects their life. Now, the complications and the varieties of things that it can affect are widespread and immensely different. So it's not like one or two things is going to suddenly fix your world. That's the hard part. Now, at my place, we do things like sticky notes on the fridge or on the wall or the door or in the office area to help remind me of things. Because there are a lot of times where I'm doing a task, or I've been told, please take this out of the fridge, or please do this, put your tools away in the garage. And I say to her, yes, sweetie, I'll take care of that, no problem. And then I go back to the office, or I'm cleaning the dishes, or I'm vacuuming, or playing with the cat or the dog. And sure enough, I forget. And the only way I'm going to remember is by seeing this external reminder on the door and going, oh, right, oops, I got to go and put my tools away in the garage. And it helps. Unfortunately, it's not perfect. You're going to have moments where you're in such a rush, because as ADHD people tend to deal with is not getting out of the house on time because they always forget something. If they don't have it set up, their house set up in a way that helps them remember everything, And this has happened to me many times where I get dressed and I have my coat on, and then I go, oh, oops, forgot my wallet. I grab my wallet and head to the door, and I'm going, oh, wait, where's my keys? And I go, darn it, I gotta go get my keys. So I rush back into the house, and I grab my keys. And then I gotta stand there for a moment with a blank face on, going, do I have everything? Am I okay? And I go, oh, shoot, I forgot to grab something for work. And so I'm like back and forth 3 times trying to get these things in order so that I can get out the door on time and get to work. This happens a lot. And I remember in the past, I used to rush out the door and I'd forget my work badge. So I'd have to turn around and go back home and grab it. And so now I'm a few minutes late, and I'm frustrated and I'm feeling stressed because I'm worried about getting to work late, and it adds up real quick. It's super frustrating, I'm sure. I know that all you guys have your own examples of situations and times where you have forgotten something, or your memory seems to just not want to be helpful. It's working against you, and you start to feel stress, and you start to feel worried that you are going to do it again and again. A very informed, helpful thing is external reminders, sticky notes, reminders on your phone that can come up at a certain time of day, or you can even set it up so that when you enter the house or you go to a building, the reminder will come up and say, remember to pick up this grocery item, remember your keys, remember your wallet, don't forget your jacket. You can do reminders as an external way to help, because I assure you guys and ladies that external reminders are very helpful. They're not perfect, but they definitely help. With ADHD, the thing that you are, I'm sure, experiencing so many times is with the fact that we have such poor working memory, it really affects your ability to think ahead. And so you're doing things, or you're in a task, or you're doing a project, and you can get so caught up in the project or that task that you're doing that you have no ability to remember or to think, oh, I gotta go make supper, or oh, I've got a meeting I gotta go to because there's an important discussion I gotta do at 6:30, and you'll be working on that task, and you can literally totally forget that you have that meeting or that you need to make supper. And if you're making supper for 2 people, that other person's going to get awful upset at you because they're going to go, where's my supper? You were supposed to make supper at 5 o'clock. And you're sitting there going, oh crap, I forgot to make dinner. I was working on that task and it took too long and I totally forgot. Well, a good way to help with that is to make an external reminder. You can have your phone, or you can have an alarm clock go off, and the phone reminder can say it's 4:50, time to go prep to make supper, and then you go, oh right, yeah. So you put down the tool, or you put down the computer, the laptop, and you go make your dinner. The stress is much less, and you're not going to have an upset partner or roommate or whoever that you're helping out. These things can always occur on a regular basis. It's difficult. I know this sounds easy, and I'm sure some of you are saying out there that, sure, you make it sound so simple. Yeah, set a reminder, use sticky notes, have a whiteboard that you write like your appointments on, or say, remember, you got to do this, you got to take the dog for a walk, or remember, put the food out from the fridge onto the counter to let it defrost. But because life is so complicated and there are so many variables and unknowns that occur on a daily basis, remembering to do these things in the first place is not an easy task. I have such personal experiences with this. It's hard to do. I always say to my partner, my girlfriend, I will do better next time. I will remember to do this. I will try harder. And the thing is, half the time you can remember, and you may end up doing it, but the other half, you forget, even though you've told her you will do better. You will remember. You need to have a realistic expectation when it comes to ADHD and living your life. This disability can affect us in so many ways. It can be hurtful, even if it's by accident, or even if you didn't even mean it, it can still be hurtful to those that you love. It can be super frustrating to you, the one who suffers from ADHD, simply because you don't necessarily know how to handle it. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of mysteries that come up every day that you think to yourself, why did this happen? I don't understand. What can I do different to make this not happen? Or if it does happen, the consequences that come from it can be way less. Or you don't hurt your partner. Or in this case, if you're like a 16-year-old and you're going to school, you won't frustrate your teachers or your parents. Because how many times have you said, as a 16-year-old, and I imagine a lot of you have gone through this when you were in school, telling your mom or your dad, yeah, I'll do my homework in a half an hour, don't worry. And you're sitting at the TV playing video games, and next thing you know, an hour goes by. And your mom comes upstairs yelling at you, why aren't you downstairs working on your homework? You said you were going to do your homework a half an hour ago. Well, it's an hour later and you haven't done your homework yet. And of course you're going, Mom, I will, I promise, okay. Or when you get into a shouting argument, and of course you're going to upset your mother, and your mother's going to say, don't talk back to me like that. Get downstairs right now and do your homework. And of course you get all upset and you huff and puff and you stomp downstairs with your books and you throw them on the table and you're angry at your mom. And the whole time, the only thing that's occurred is that an ADHD symptom has just come up. That working memory, that ability to remind yourself at that half hour or whenever that, oh, I got to do my homework, I better go downstairs and get started, doesn't happen. And you're just sitting there going, why can't this work? And you're frustrated. And it's not just because it's the first time that this has happened. This has happened before. I had it happen when I was in school. I had no idea back then that I had ADHD. I just thought I was forgetful. Hell, I thought I was forgetful for most of my adult life. I had no idea that it was ADHD. But now I know. There are ways to get around this. Like I said, external reminders, sticky notes, a calendar, a whiteboard, and probably the best one is if you do have a smartphone, and I know most of you probably do if you're listening to this, have a reminder pop up, and it can even be a verbal reminder on your phone telling you, do your homework, take out the garbage, make dinner, don't forget to walk the dog, oh, lock the door, don't forget your wallet, do you have your keys? All these things can help your life be easier, more simple, and less stressful. And it will not only save you, but it will save your friendships, it will save relationships, life can be easier. You don't have to let ADHD rule over you. It's not going to be easy, but the hard work will pay off. Okay, so for the third episode, I am going to talk about CPTSD and how it affects my life. It's going to be an interesting episode because it's nothing like ADHD, as I said in the first episode. Please subscribe and stay tuned. Listen to the episodes. Anybody you know who has ADHD or CPTSD, please tell them about this podcast and have them listen. It's very helpful. They will get a lot out of this, I assure you. Let's help each other out. Remember, you are not alone. There are people out there that can help us overcome these disabilities. You just have to be willing to do the work and have an open mind. All right, this is Russ with Living with ADHD. Thank you for listening and continue listening to my podcast. See, there you go. A mistake. All right. Goodbye for now.